we now have all of my like tier 1, 2, and 3 guys gone. All of my top 10 are gone in the first 10 picks. So this is where this thing really kind of opens up a little bit.
Let's get weird.
I'm going to take AJ Griffin at 11.
All right. I have a 12.
Ish. Yeah, it's I like AJ Griffin. I think you and I have been a little bit lower on AJ throughout the process than some are, but at a certain point, the ability to knock down shots is just really valuable. Like he is such an elite shooter and has such potential to be such a shot maker and shot creator. I like to think that maybe Tom Thibodeau can instill some real defensive instinct into him. He has all of the tools to be successful defensively, other than maybe like flexible hips. Right. His hip flexibility right now is kind of a mess, and I think it's a big problem as to why he was such a poor defender this year. And I think that if you go back and you watch that tape, it is bad. Like you really need to dive deep into hoping that he can regain some of that flexibility. I just think the shooting upside's too high at this point. Like if he slims down, if he improves his frame, I'm just comfortable taking it. I think they could use a guy like AJ Griffin who could space the floor next to someone like an RJ Barrett if they're continuing down the road with this youth movement. I think he makes sense next to someone like Obi Toppin, is like a 4-5 man who's rim running all the time, right? I think he is genuinely a good enough shooter to make up for the defense, even if he doesn't ever shoot, or even if he doesn't ever defend. Yeah, he'll shoot. It's more if he doesn't ever defend. I think that he's so good at shooting that I'm comfortable taking the flyer here on him at 11. I'm much more comfortable here than I was at number 5, 6, 7.
And you've made that great point throughout this draft process. You have him 5th or you have him 12th. He's on a guy that's like 8th on all the boards. Yeah. I have him somewhat.
And I get it either way, by the way.
Yeah.
Like it's totally reasonable to have him at 5, I think.
Philosophically, and the shooting obviously popped freshman year. It stood out. He has a home game. He played at Archbishop Stepinac in New York, so maybe the familiarity helps too. Has to do more than shoot, has to play some defense. You're also going into the blender with Tom Thibodeau, and you better defend because he's not going to let you take plays off down that end. Maybe it's the best thing for him too, that he's going to be held to a standard to do that, to get on the floor. But hey, a guy we've talked about all over the place was a top 5-ish player in his class, got injured, dipped back down. A lot of mock drafts and draft Twitter had him really hard to start the year of what he could be. He's an upside swing as well, because if he hits it, it does make sense and could be a steal. I'd be a little hesitant just based on the red flags, based on the injury history. But I get it from philosophically, you're trying to improve with a youngish guy that best basketball may be ahead of him too.
Okay. You're up at number 12.
Yeah, so this kind of threw me off because I was preparing for 1 and 2 to be different picks. So I'm picking both picks now for Oklahoma City. Didn't realize that. What up, Select? So at 12, you took Chet 1. I took Jabari Smith Jr. at 2, which means I'm going to take a 5 here. If I had Chet, I think I would have gone more 4-ish. Ousmane Dieng potentially. I'm sure they're praying that Jeremy Sohan gets down to them. But I'm going to go with Mark Williams from Duke with the 12th overall pick here. I think he pairs well with Jabari Smith Jr. Is that rim protector behind him at almost 3-ish blocks per game. A very simplified role of rim running, catching lobs, blocking shots. When he's called upon to play defense out on the perimeter, can do that a little bit. Brings a more edge, more nastiness. And if we've created this younger front court unit of Mark Williams and Jabari Smith Jr., with our younger guards and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Josh Giddey. We're young. We're going to take our lumps, but I like the direction the culture would take with taking those two guys at 2 and 12 overall.
So, obviously I did Down to Dunk yesterday with Andrew Schlecht, Alex Spears, 2 dear friends of ours.
The best, on the content side.
The absolute best people. Yeah. The more I've thought about Mark Williams and Jalen Duren to Oklahoma City, the more I don't really love it. And even if they take Chet or Jabari at number 1 or 2, the reason that I don't love it is because everything that Oklahoma City is built toward at this point has been 5 guys that can grab and go on the break, that can play perimeter-based offense, that can, hopefully defend at a reasonable level, be switchable defensively. That's why they play like Isaiah Roby at the 5 at times, for instance, right? Mark Williams and Jalen Duren don't really do that. And that's not like a terrible thing necessarily. They can adjust. Oklahoma City can adjust, certainly. But it is just it feels different than what they're doing so far. And I wonder if they would prioritize a center that does something so drastically different from what they want to do in the lottery like this.
Totally. At the same time, I'm going to counterpoint here. Ousmane Dieng is too similar, and I don't know if I want to put him at the 3 with the lack of toughness defensively next to Jabari Smith. I'd rather just go full nasty boys with Jabari Smith Jr. and Mark Williams, despite them not playing that way. Obviously, they've gone small with Jeremiah Robinson-Earl up front, Roby up front, like you said. But you can change the pathway a little bit here for a guy like that, and rather than go with another guard or another wing, which they have, not in abundance, but you kind of have those backcourt spots filled up pretty nicely.
Okay, up at number 13, the Charlotte Hornets. Now, I've heard some discussion here about the idea that Charlotte should play off of Cleveland at number 14 and understand Cleveland is not going to take a center and thus should wait to take their center at 15. I would, if I had a center and one of Duren or Williams are off the board, I would be absolutely terrified that someone would trade up with Cleveland to get one of these guys.
I know.
I think you just take the guy that you need at the end of the day. And to me, I would take Jalen Duren at number 13.
Okay.
And I would just take him. I would not play these games about hoping he falls to 15 and then maybe hoping Cleveland doesn't take our guy. Like, I would just take the guy that you think is good. I have 1 point to make on Jalen Duren to Charlotte. Imagine Jalen Duren catching lobs from LaMelo Ball.
Yeah, Superman. Like, a cape. Like Dwight Howard back in the day.
Yeah, this is what Jalen Duren is absolutely elite at. He is absolutely exceptional at catching lobs and finishing at the rim. He can run in transition, full speed, catch with one hand, and just finish like it's nothing. And to me, that's a perfect fit with this team. They want to run. They want to get up tempo. They have Miles Bridges. They have LaMelo. Like, he's a perfect running mate for all of these guys. And on top of it, he has real potential to be the kind of defensive difference maker that they need in the front court long term. I would not fuck around. I would absolutely just take Jalen Duren at number 13 and take the guy that can be a true center for a team that needs one that also fits with my point guard.
I really wanted you to not do that and me to spoil it and just take a center just to do it, just to mess with you. But
if you would have taken a center at Cleveland, I would have fucking obliterated you. But like,
we need depth in the front court. We're good. We're gonna re-sign Colin Sexton. We don't need a guard. What are you talking about? Yeah, marketing and love off the bench. It's not enough depth. Let's load it up, depth it up. But yeah, I get it. I think everyone in the world has mocked Mark Williams or Jalen Duren to that pick. So I get it.
Yeah. Okay, you're up. Number 14.
Number 14, I'm going to take, and this is a mock draft that we do what we would do. And I'm not predicting this to happen because there's been other players tied to Cleveland. But at 14th overall, I'm going to take Malaki Branham from the Ohio State University. Sam is an alum of Ohio State, so I felt like I was obligated to get him off the board in the lottery. Malaki really came on the second half of the year, averaged nearly 20 points per game. Exceptional mid-range shooter, has great elevation as jumper, exploded in the NCAA tournament versus Villanova. And is young. He's come on here, and it's not the finished product. The problem is defense, and the defensive tape is worse than I could have imagined going back and watching it. But here's the good part. Standing behind him, he has Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, can have Isaac Okoro, can have Darius Garland mix it up in the front court, in the backcourt, I'm sorry. His deficiencies are hidden with the personnel that they have. And being a local kid, sure, he goes back home to Cleveland where he grew up. But all the stuff offensively, it can get there with the defense. He's going to have to rise to what everyone else is doing behind him. But as a play of a scoring guy, that piece has been fixated on with the length too and going off the dribble. I just really like the fit with Cleveland, and that's the guy I would take there.
Yeah, sure. Seems completely reasonable to me. I'm a little bit lower on Malaki. I have him like at 21. So this wouldn't be My pick. I worry about him defensively, and I think that I don't think the jury's out on the shot, but like I'm a little bit worried about him moving back to the NBA line early in his career. Is what
I agree, and it's a low release. It's a little bit more of a push from NBA line, but I feel way better when I have a couple all defense NBA guys behind me that's rim protecting, and it'll help their numbers too. They'll have a few more blocks per game, and that can help them in contract negotiations down the line as well.
Yeah. Okay. Number 15. I'm going Tari Eason out of LSU. I have Tari at number, I think 13 on my board, 12 or 13. I'm a big fan. I just really completely and utterly buy his defensive ability for sure. I think he is absolutely an effective transition player. Again, this is another guy where the Charlotte Hornets need defense, pure and simple. Like they need guys that can come in, they can defend, they can help out. LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges and Terry Rozier on that end of the court need energy. You need athleticism. Tari Eason fits that bill entirely. In a place like Charlotte, I think that he can just literally run the court and get 10 points a game early in his career. And do other stuff like cut off the ball. Like he won't get 10 in transition every game, but like as long as he runs the court hard, as long as he cuts, as long as he stands still from spot ups from three, from the corners, I think he can work his way into 10 points per game. And I think that the upside is greater beyond that for sure. And I love his defensive energy at a really high level. I think he's very switchable. I think he's a real defensive playmaker. This is a team that just needs action and needs almost like unpredictability defensively.
Yeah.
Like they just get very predictable. Yeah. And Tari is a little bit wild from time to time, but like they need the kind of guy that can be really, really a playmaker on the defensive end, I think. So Tari Eason, 15 to Charlotte. Charlotte ends up with Jalen Duren and Tari Eason. They just got way more athletic. They maintain their ability to play out in transition with LaMelo Ball. I think that's a home run draft.
Yeah, we called them League Pass last year. So you're not worried about the draft with Kai Jones the year before either. But I think of...
Don't think you consider it.
What was the Suns book in the philosophy with D'Antoni and Steve Nash? Was it 7 seconds or less?
7 seconds or less.
This is like 4 seconons or less because the ball's going off the rim and they're taking off. Just throw it. Here's Tari. Here's Jalen Duren. Here's Melo over the head. Like he was doing that in the preseason last year and now has, I don't want to say competent, but just more depth of throwing those passes. So I get it. I have him a little bit lower than you do, but I understand the pick.
Okay. You're up. Number 16.
Atlanta Hawks. Okay, so I'm going to take a turn here. I don't know if you're ready for this or not. But you have Trae Young, you have Kevin Huerter, you have DeAndre Hunter. There's been a lot of guards kind of linked here. It's just some help with Trae Young. Just take some pressure off him, play the point a little bit, play off the ball a little bit. I'm going to take one of the biggest risers up the board in the draft, and I'm going to go with Arizona's Dalen Terry. So Dalen Terry.
Not far off of where I have him.
Okay. Well, a true jumbo guard at 6'7". He epitomizes the energy guy. He's bouncy. He's all over the court on both ends. Can scramble on defense. He showed he can push on offense. Showed he can play the point guard position, which he did in the Pac-12 tournament when Kirk Crease was injured with the ankle. And in the NCAA tournament, he showed a little bit more of that too. He's very creative as a driver and passer. I think Trae Young can play off of that, and he can create more. It's not going to be Trae dribbling the air of the ball 100 times. Like he can go down, get a screen, take a play off or two, and Dalen can create, throw that over-the-head kickback pass that he loves to do. The shot has to get there because you need to keep the defense honest. I get it. But he's a great piece while also adding to the help of Trae Young. We're building around him, and he's a great guy that would take some of that pressure off him from the jump.
Yeah, I dig this. This is like the kind of guy that you want to put next to Trae Young, I think. Trae has at times early in his career struggled to play a little bit more off the ball. Having Terry, having Kevin Huerter, having Bogdanovich, like that's enough guys to where Trae should be able to make a bit of a leap playing off the ball. And I think that this is a team, it's been rumored throughout the offseason that they're looking at Rudy Gobert at the very least. I have no inside information onto that. That is purely coming from the media reports. For the love of God, do not aggregate this.
No aggregations pod. That's the subtitle of Game Theory.
Yeah, but this is a team that is ripe for a consolidation trade. Like, I think it makes a lot of sense for them to consider packaging this pick even within a consolidation trade. So, I'm a fan.
Okay, you are up here at number 17 with the Houston Rockets. The Rockets still have that pick. That wasn't part of the Christian Wood trade we discussed, right?
The Rockets still have that pick.
Okay.
I'm going Ty Washington
Ooh,
at
okay.
number 17. Uh,
Ton
Look,
of guards.
I have Tyty at number 14. I'm a big fan of Tyty. I think he's a really, really good fit next to Jalen Green. The reason for that is I think he does a lot of the things that Jalen Green doesn't on the offensive end. He's a really high level passer. He's a really high level processor of the game. Not to say that Jalen Green isn't. I think that he's still learning in that regard and we'll get there in time. But Ty's passing ability, his shooting will play off the ball really well next to Jalen Green. It's just a really, really smart pick. Jalen's going to be able to collapse the defense. And then he's going to be able to kick it out to Ty like on the weak side. And then Ty is going to be able to get into the paint that way with an advantage, make passing reads. He's an elite level mid-range player. He shot 57% on floaters this year. He shot 59% on shots from 8 to 16 feet this year. He is absolutely awesome as an offensive player. Defensively, I have some concerns. I think you just figure it out early in their careers. You have Tyty, you have Jalen Green, you have Paulo. You probably need to pair them. You have Alper and Şengün as well. You probably need to pair them with elite level defensive players off the bench. I think that the Rockets should be accumulating talent and trying to figure out what to do with it. Accumulate talent that makes sense next to Paulo Banchero and Jalen Green. Yeah. Ty Washington makes a lot of sense next to those guys.
The only added point I'll have on that is that Tyty played out of position this year at Kentucky. He had to play a lot of two guard next to Severe Wheeler. But it's also a blessing in disguise because he's ready for that more off-ball role, but we know he's more naturally on-ball, and they can just flip back and forth with Jalen Green. It's not going to be this huge hole offensively if he has to go to the 2 or he's back to the 1. Needs to be able to shoot from 3. Has to fix the footwork. Don't take these long 2s. Finish by the rim or take 3s, right? It can't be all mid-range, but I like the passing reads. I like him on a pick and roll. I have a little bit lower. I have him at 22, but we're here. I get it. It's a fit for the guard. So we're on a run of guards right now.
Okay. You're on 18.
Okay. We're on 18 with the Chicago Bulls. My guards are off the board. So I am going to take another guard right now. And this one's definitely going to be higher than you, but I'm going to take Blake Wesley out of Notre Dame.
Yeah. A little bit higher.
And my reason is this. You can use him help in the backcourt. You don't have to look too far for this pick. Played at Notre Dame, grew up in Indiana. He started every ACC game as a freshman. He gets to his spots really well on the floor. He's a plus athlete. He knows how to score the basketball. He sputtered to the finish line to close down the year. He did. The tournament was not awesome for his stock, but he's young. Does he make the sophomore jump if he went back to school? Can the jumper get to a place where he can replicate that game against Wake Forest when he had 6 threes? He's only 30% from 3 this past season. It's a little bit of a sling. The legs are a little crazy, but that's not broken. It's fixable. Just turn your shoulders a little bit. It's repetition. It's muscle memory. I'm higher on him than most here. I get it. This is the start of the range for me. Make the reach a little bit early. You don't need him. Another guy, you don't need him right away with Zach LaVine and Kobe White and Lonzo Ball. So you can take his time to get there. And just a guy that I'd kind of draft and stash internally and put him in the developmental system. I'm glad that he's wearing my jersey.
Yeah, I get that. I'm just not quite as high on Wesley because I don't know if he can shoot at the end of the day. If he doesn't shoot, it's going to be a problem.
Troubleshoot pass. Got to shoot.
Yeah. But he has really high upside as a creator. He has really high upside as a powerful athlete that can get into the paint and actually make moves. His ability to counter what defenses present to him in isolation and ball screen situations is very high. So I get it. Okay. I am up at number 19, the Minnesota Timberwolves. I am going to go Ousmane Dieng here. I think that it makes some sense for them because they won't necessarily rely on him to be a primary creator. I think that his passing ability, his ability to process the game at a really high level is going to fit well as more of a combo 3-4 man that you can pair with Jalen McDaniels on the wing next to Anthony Edwards, next to Karl Anthony Towns, next to Jared Vanderbilt, particularly, who I really like on defense as well. And I think that Dieng's ability to make those passing reads, maybe shoot at some point, kind of outweighs the athletic concerns that I have with him. He is not a phenomenally like twitchy athlete,
No.
right? I think he's going to go in like the draft way higher than this, like in the actual draft that happens next
No, I do
Thursday.
too.
He's going to go way higher than this, I think. But I'm a little bit lower. It seems like you are as well, mostly because I don't see him as like a potential primary creator, like even like a second unit creator. I see him as a guy that like attacks closeouts, maybe makes shots, you know, hopefully can have some defensive versatility and makes it work that way.
I have him 20th. As a 6'10 wing, he's one of the youngest guys in the draft. Much more perimeter based than on the interior right now. It's just a funky game of like drives and floaters, making plays off the dribble. I like the creativity. Has to get tougher. Has to rebound better for his size. Get him in the weight room. See if it pays off in a few years down the line.
Yeah. Okay. You're up. Number 20.
Okay, I fist pumped. I'm psyched. This has been a great day for me up to this point. This is a guy I have about 5 spots higher. With the 20th pick, the San Antonio Spurs select Jalen Williams from Santa Clara. I am psyched. I would love it if he falls this far. Very productive college player with a massive frame and wingspan, 18, 4, and 4 while shooting 51% from the field, 39% from three, 81% from the free throw line. He's a stud. I know San Antonio seems to have all these 6'4 to 6'6 guys. The talent's too high to pass on because the positional roster fit isn't the cleanest. Doesn't really matter to me. Also, Justin received before this, I saw a tweet by Jonathan Giavoni, invited to the green room. So his stock has raised as much as anyone as we've all kind of went back, looked at the film, gone through pre-draft. He showed that he'll play in the combine. He showed that during the interview process, he was this late bloomer that knows how hard he has to work to get there. He fits the Spurs culture. I love this pick at 20. Love it.
I love this brand for you where you've become combine guy. Like when did this happen? Like when did you become? We need to do measurements to the combine guy. When did you become? We need to play
Why?
at the combine guy?
Yeah. You're anti-information. Like I don't want to know how big he is. Like what are you talking about? I want to get my hands on as much stuff as possible. I just like ballers, man. I like guys who are going to play. I like Bones Highlands. Like strap them up. Let's go. Put on your shoes. Let's do it. I like the Jaquavion Smiths. Like I'm going to play, man. Like I don't care. Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. Guys that don't play in the combine, they slide. He did. He was good enough to show that he can have worth and value. Give me the combine. Give me the Spurs. Primo out of the combine. Jalen Williams out of the combine. Next year, I'm going to draft the Spurs again. Take another combine guy. Kermit Wiltz played in hustle. You can play too. Let's do it.
I fucking hate you.
Yep, I know.
It's beautiful.
I'm so happy. You can take whatever. I'll auto draft. I'll do like the X button, you know, the fantasy football draft like jumps over you, take like 4 quarterbacks in a row. Yeah. I'm good. I got my guys.
This would have been my pick as well. It's just funny that you've become combine guy to me.